It's already set on the table with little bowls, and everything is just within their reach. And they have so many wonderful things to say about cooking, and about how cooking is like life, and life is like art, and cooking is like art. And it just makes you want to go out and cook something, or go to an outdoor market and buy some swordfish or something. So our next piece is about a TV chef who has her own inspired philosophy. Let's cleanse the palate, our mental palates. Put your brain into motion for Cooking with Mary Lou Kling by Joan. The set of a cooking show. Mary Lou Kling stands behind the counter.
We're on in 5, 4, 3.
Good afternoon. I am Mary Lou Kling, and this is Cooking with Mary Lou Kling. Today we are going to talk about making a cheese omelet. Now I have here my omelet pan and some fresh eggs and some mild Colby cheese. Let me talk about your omelet pan for a moment. You can't make an omelet in just any pan. You have to have a pan just like this one. 8 inches in diameter with a good copper bottom. Because what we're going for here is uniformity. All of your omelets should come out exactly the same. I will never forget. I went to the home of a woman whose omelets all came out different, in varying shapes and sizes. But what can you expect from someone who laughs in the kitchen? Does she think cooking is some kind of joke? And she served the omelets for lunch. Omelets are to be eaten at breakfast and not lunch. That is a rule. Anyway, I have chosen the Colby cheese because it doesn't have too strong a taste or smell, and it melts well. So the texture of the omelet isn't disturbed. Now, contrary to what some other shows tell you, and contrary to most hotel buffets, you cannot put just anything into an omelet. That's another rule. You don't put ingredients in an omelet that don't belong there. Like ham. Or sausage. Heavens no. Anything zesty or spicy would surprise people's taste buds. Adding green pepper is a big mistake. You definitely don't want anything crunchy in an omelet. So, you say, well, what about tomatoes? Of all things. The tangy flavorfulness of the tomato takes away from the creaminess of the omelet. And onions are just an insult. Onions and garlic and herbs and things with their aromas. They make your kitchen smell. Now, I know some of you believe that tastes and colors and textures and smells make a meal more interesting. Well, meals aren't supposed to be interesting. They're supposed to be predictable. People should not look at a dish and say, what is this? They should know. And they should be familiar with it before they even gum it. Because people have no taste anyway. They're all ignorant pricks who can't tell from a donut hole. 6 out of 8 can't even tell you what's in a carrot and raisin salad. But I digress. Oh yes, there are rules. Even music has rules. Duke Ellington himself said rules are good. Some instruments can only make certain sounds, and some musicians can't hit high or low notes. And a good composer has to write around that. Speaking of music, for those of you who wrote in after the first show to ask where I learned to cook, well, I wanted to be a musician. And when I went to college, I majored in music. But I thought I was smarter. I took up the saxophone in a conservatory, jamming jazz with some other folks. And even though we were pretty good, the department heads were tone-deaf eunuchs who threw us out because they didn't recognize any music written after the turn of the century. They said we weren't serious musicians. So we tried working gigs on our own, but no one got what we were trying to do, and I damn near starved. So, I guess I wasn't so smart after all. Well, I took it in tempo, like they say, and I went home to Oregon, where I learned to cook from my mother, the late Rosa Kling of the Breakfast Duchess cafeteria in Willamette. She told me to cook plain breakfast food. And I said, well, my friends all cook things like blitzes and grilladas and breakfast burritos. And she said, if your friends all jump off a cliff, does that mean you will too? And when I cooked something I made up myself, she threw it right in the garbage. So I learned that you don't cook to please yourself, but to please other people. Because not everyone is a genius like Duke Ellington. And unless you're a genius, you don't go experimenting in the kitchen. And you will need to practice. Omelets are deceptively difficult. So isolate yourself and practice. Shut the window, turn off the phone, no distractions, no suggestions from well-meaning friends. Just do the same goddamn thing over and over again, like some frigging robot with no feeling. Follow the rules, people! Obey the recipes. You don't have an exciting meal, but you don't have the criticism either. You become like a mechanic who's only good at one thing, like omelets, but you sure as hell can make omelets, and then someday, if you're good enough, you can make them on TV. And maybe, just maybe, if your mother could see you, she'd tell you she was proud of you. Well, I see from our clock on the wall that we seem to be out of time for this segment. On our next show, we'll continue with talking about our omelet. But you need to make sure that you're ready and prepared for that. Because you know, when you're making an omelet, you have to break the eggs. Until then, I'm Mary Lou Kling, and have a pleasant day.
And out. We're clear.